Hey guys, and welcome to Transistor. I thought I would do something different today and actually review a game for once, instead of just blindly leaping into it like a confused child that's jumped off the wrong end of the diving board. Uh, yeah, so with that mental image in mind, Transistor everyone. So, Transistor was developed by Supergiant Games, who you might remember as the studio behind Bastion, which was one of the most popular and well-liked games of 2011. I actually loved Bastion to pieces, so I was really looking forward to their next project. First of all, let me start off by saying that Transistor is a gorgeous looking game, colourful, vibrant, and full of awesome looking characters and enemies. Whereas Bastion's art style was a pastiche of everything we've come to expect from fantasy RPGs, Transistor lands firmly within the realm of science fiction, with a vivid tech noir kind of style, which is reminiscent of something like Dark City, Blade Runner, or any number of anime series. The art direction is again absolutely phenomenal, and just like Bastion, Transistor's hand-painted backdrops and imaginative scenery make it one of the best looking games of the year so far. A lot of the praise directed towards Supergiant's last game involved the sound design and the reactive style of narration. Logan Cunningham, who voiced the narrator in Bastion, returns for this game to give voice to a man trapped inside the eponymous Transistor. The Transistor is a sword-like technology that seemingly has the ability to capture the souls of people within the world of the game. His performance is just as good here, and having the Transistor speak to the game's protagonist as an actual character instead of as an omniscient narrator, it gives the performance a more humanistic touch. Transistor's soundtrack as well, while not quite reaching the height of Bastion's, is still absolutely excellent, with music unlockable through several differently themed challenges. I think it's well worth spending the time unlocking and listening to all of them. The gameplay, however, is where Transistor really shines and outdoes its predecessor. The combat is superb and is based around a resource known as Turn, which is a constantly recharging resource that lets you pause the game, queue up actions, which cost varying amounts of turn energy, and then unpause, carrying out your plan of action. You then return to real time with most of your abilities unusable until your turn bar fully recharges. This forces you to plan carefully in combat and makes you choose between avoiding enemies' attacks or setting up hard-hitting combos. You can also just play in real time like a hack and slash RPG, but this is incredibly difficult to do, and you'll find the game punishing at points if you don't use the turn mechanic. There are only 16 different abilities at your disposal in Transistor. However, it's the way in which you set up those abilities that is where the system really starts to shine. At any one point you can have 4 active abilities, but each of these has up to 2 upgrade slots, which you can put any of the other 12 abilities in. This augments and changes them in various different ways, so it actually lets you open up the game and play in whatever style you want. So if you want to queue up devastating single target combos, you can. Or if you want to make sort of AoE clouds of damage over time abilities, you can do that. Or if you fancy summoning allies to fight for you, Transistor lets you do all of these and more. I think each combination of abilities feels very different depending on how you choose to upgrade, so it's a really diverse system. And if you're anything like me, you'll spend quite a while experimenting with what each combo does and adjusting your gameplay according to your preferences. On top of this, the game handles death absolutely brilliantly. It's so wonderfully novel. When your life bar goes to 0, instead of hitting a game over, the game will either remove one of your abilities for a short while, which makes combat harder, but it also adds to the sense of desperation, or you'll get an emergency turn, which is kind of like a last chance turn that you might be able to overcome the odds with. It's really a fantastic system. It's simple on the surface, but it's got an underlying complexity and depth that will have you diving straight back into the new game plus or recursion mode, I think it's called, just as soon as you finish the game. I know I did. Transistor's storyline is delivered in a very similar style to Bastion's as well. The exposition comes from several sources. You've got the narration from the Transistor that continues as you progress through the levels. Then there's sort of short, stylish cutscene snippets. And you've also got these things known as OVC terminals, which are nodes that kind of bring you a news feed from the world outside, which kind of builds the world and develops the story outside what you see. It's a really good balance that Supergiant have got with storytelling and gameplay. They never take control away from you for too long, and they've done the show don't tell rule of storytelling really well, same as in Bastion. The only thing with it is I do feel like some major questions from the story end up unanswered at the end. The ending of the game feels very abrupt to me. It kind of left me feeling underwhelmed and a little bit disappointed that more wasn't explained or resolved, and it also didn't really have the same emotional punch as Bastion's did, in my opinion. All in all, Transistor is a great game with fantastic, responsive combat that will keep you interested the whole way through. The atmosphere and design of the game is stellar, and while the story never really hits the highs that Bastion's did, the world and characters are just as intriguing, even if the ending feels all too soon. For me, Transistor gets an 8 out of 10.